everyone, my name is Liv and welcome back to Blade of Desire. I wanted to do today's video to finish out essentially this accidental 3-part series that has become of my channel. So first I talked about your Chiron placement, and then I talked about your Lilith placement, and today I want to talk about your Descendant in astrology. I'm talking about these terms because they're all really important concepts in astrology that can lead us to self-discovery and self-betterment, and that's something that I'm personally just really fascinated by, and I think is extremely interesting to look at astrology from more of a psychological lens and see what it lends itself to when it comes to self-growth. So that's what I want to talk about today. Like I said, today we'll be focusing on your Descendant in astrology, which is always the opposite of your Ascendant. But we're going to get into that. So without further ado, let's finish out this series. So in astrology, we all have what is known as our rising sign, which is pretty common knowledge because it's usually considered in what is our big three: our sun, our rising, and our moon. So our descendant is actually the opposite of our rising sign. On a natal chart wheel, your ascendant always starts the first house, at least in Placidus. It's going to start your first house. And directly opposite of that, of course, the line continues. So what's on the other side is known as your descendant, while this side is your rising or your ascendant. So by looking at this side, we can find our descendant, and it's always the cusp of your 7th house. So you can look at the cusp of your 7th house, and whatever sign is there, that's going to be your descendant. So for example, for me, I am a Capricorn rising, so my descendant is in Cancer because it's directly opposite of my 1st house, and Cancer rules over my 7th house of relationships. So that's how you can look at your chart and find that information. Your descendant rules over a lot in astrology. A lot of people see your descendant as the types of energy that you attract from other people. Because your ascendant is yourself and what you put out into the world, your descendant placement is essentially what you kind of look for and need and maybe don't have as much that you seek to find in others. Again, using my own self as an example, with me being a Capricorn rising, I'm usually seen as very mature and serious and just very forthright and like as is by the books. So for me, having a Cancer descendant, it makes sense that I kind of seem to lack or may not have or may look for in other people that very soft, emotional, nurturing side. Because when you think about it, it's kind of the opposite of what Capricorn usually represents, especially in like popular media. So it's very important to analyze your descendant because it shows you the types of traits that you might seek out in other people. You might have had partners that are your descendant sign in the past and not even realized it. That's just naturally you going for that energy that you don't have in your own life or in your own chart. It's very interesting. There are a few ways in which analyzing your descendant sign can be really helpful for self-discovery. So like we've already talked about a lot in this video, just the idea of relationships in general and finding people around you, you might realize that you're drawn to your descendant energy. This is really important because it allows you to kind of take a step back and analyze, okay, well, maybe what traits should I look for more in myself, or should I look to build in myself? For me, I feel like I'm always channeling that nurturing energy, and that's what friends kind of bring out in me and my partner brings out in me. So it makes sense that Cancer is my descendant because I constantly see others bringing out that energy in me, and it's always in a good light, you know, because I of course try to surround myself by people who are positive and have good intentions and good motives. So when they bring out that nurturing, more gentle energy in me, that's kind of where I see my descendant shine. And that's how I know that emotionally I'm in the right place with friendships and mentally, because if I'm misaligned, then I kind of feel the opposite and I feel myself become more cold and detached, like a Capricorn rising, might be. I think it's also really important because having your descendant and knowing what your descendant is can kind of show you what you are missing in your own life as far as, like I said, what you can learn to grow. So even if you aren't looking for certain traits in other people, you can kind of look at your descendant and take a closer look at, okay, well, how can I apply these traits and these ideas in my own life? It helps you to create a more balanced sense of self because you kind of have that yin and yang energy. And a lot of times that's really important to self-growth, to have a little bit of both sides in your own personality, because then at certain points, certain crowds might want this energy, certain crowds might want another, you might want a different one for yourself. It really all depends, and having that full look and full view of our chart really helps. Like I did in the last video, let's talk about 3 ways to integrate this learning into our own lives. And that will be done through 3 keywords, which is journal, observe, and practice integration. Even though that's actually 4 words now that I'm saying it out loud. So first, I say this with so many of my videos, but I think one of the most important things you can do when you're analyzing your descendant is to just journal it out and to analyze how you see those traits show up in your life, in the life of your friends around you or family members or significant others. It's really interesting to pay attention to how that energy shows up in your own life, and not only how you feel about it, but how you naturally react to it when it happens. And I think that can tell you a lot about these so-called traits that maybe you are supposed to work to adapt more to in this lifetime. I know for me, for example, it's really easy for me to just be one-track minded and, as an unironic, very much so Capricorn, business minded at all times. And I think having a Cancer descendant influences me in the best way to slow down when I can and to take things easy and to listen to myself and my intuition. It's constantly like this battle between the two of intuition and emotions and then logic and thinking things through. So I feel like my life has kind of been like finding that balance between the two. And I think that when you analyze your ascendant versus your descendant in general, you're able to do that and kind of find that own balance that you need in your life. Next, I think it's extremely important to observe and just pay attention in your life to the things that bring out that side of you, that descendant side, or pay more attention to your relationships in which you notice those traits come out. By observing, you're able to just pay closer attention to how this influences your life, and that leads to better reflection, better journaling, better integration, all of those things. And that leads us to our 3rd point, which is practicing integration. So once you've observed and journaled and kind of paid closer attention to how your descendant presents itself in this lifetime, I think you'll be able to move forward with a little bit more confidence and know how you want to integrate those traits, or maybe how you don't want to, where you see it with friendships and where you don't see it, how you can become more balanced and more aligned. Pay attention to what rituals might make you feel more balanced and more self-aligned with both sides of the axis. It's really up to you and how you feel about it, which is super cool to me. Today's video was rather quick and simple. I just wanted to finish out this series because I have some really fun and different videos coming up next. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this and learned something from what your descendant is and what it means. I had a really fun time making this series, and I want to make similar ones in the future. So definitely subscribe if that would be something that you'd be interested in, and comment down below what your descendant sign is. I would be curious to know. But yeah, until next time, so much love, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!